As though we are all the same, as though we share the same taste. I think a quick perusal of my video collection will tell you many of us walk to the beat of our own drummer.
Empty your mind. Be formless, shapeless, like water. Now you put water into a cup, it becomes the cup. You put water into a bottle, it becomes the bottle. You put it in a teapot, it becomes the teapot. Now water can flow, or it can crash. Be water, my friend.
Yo, 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 welcome to Made to Think with your host, SlamJam. Now, I'm going to do a little video photography summarization of the last 3 seasons. For all those people that have been listening to the SlamJam series on my Spotify account, first of all, I want to say thank you so much for the support. So, as a little gift, I've been fiddling around with some new tools, and this will take me nicely into season 4, where I can start doing a little bit more video, some sound effects. So this is a little tester, really. It's took me quite a while to compile it, but as I get better, then I'll be able to put out videos at a faster rate. So let's start from the beginning and how exactly I got to doing this podcast. So first of all, welcome to Made to Think yet again with your host, SlamJam. When I was 18, I started working for a bank in England, and it was a high-paid job. I worked my way up through the ranks, but something I learned in the bank, they taught me how to use manipulation skills to win customers over, and it was quite illegal, to be honest. One example would be I would cold call you, and I would say, "Hi, I'm calling on behalf of the bank, on behalf of your case catalog." And I was targeting like single women, single parents with no money who needed quick money. And they'd do anything for a loan, even if it was high interest. Most of them didn't get accepted, but we would do whatever it takes to make the money, make back the bank money. So I learned I was going to work every day feeling like shit. And I hated my job. So I just quit. I gave up the corporation life, and I swore that I would never go back. But one good thing about that experience when I was 18, I worked with a guy whose name was David, and we were just randomly having lunch, and he said to me one day, "Who do you think built the pyramids of Egypt?" And I was 18. I was getting into music. I was getting into DJing. I was into girls. I hadn't read a book since leaving school at 16. And I said, "I don't know. I don't really care who built the pyramids. It was the Egyptians," because that's what we were taught at school. We had one class at school about ancient history, and it was absolutely shit. And he gave me this book, Fingerprints of the Gods by Graham Hancock. Now, I'll be honest, that book sat on the side of my bed for 2 months. And then one night, I was round my mate's DJing. "All right, Jamie." And we had a bit of an argument, and I ended up going home earlier than I usually did on a school night. And I was bored, so I just picked the book up. And I remember my mum coming up the stairs, and my door was open, and she said to me, "What are you doing?" I said, "I'm reading." It was like, one of them Bill Hicks, a Bill Hicks joke. "What are you reading for?" So I said, "I'm reading." She said, "Why are you reading?" I said, "I don't know. I've got nothing else to do." And she was as surprised as me. Anyway, it took me about a month and a half to get through that book. And immediately I went to Waterstones and I bought a load of books. It cost me about 200 quid. Couldn't believe the price. And then I went out and bought a little bookshelf, and then eventually got a bigger bookshelf. And then eventually I filled the back room with books. I was obsessed. I was onto something, and I couldn't answer this question. I gave that book back to David and I said, thank you for opening my eyes. I don't know who built the pyramids and I don't know what they are, but I'm going to find out. And I also want to say thank you for Graham Hancock, because this book started everything for me. If you've not read that book, it's still good. I listened to it again on audio and it's just a groundbreaking book. And I'm wishing one day I'll get Graham Hancock on the show, because he's an absolute genius, no matter what you think of his theories. Now, after the bank, I was, bouncing between jobs in England. I got a bit fed up with the whole lifestyle. So my uncle, he invited me to go to America when I was 20 to live in a place called Placerville, as you see there. Beautiful little town in California, 50 miles away from Tahoe. And my uncle owned an apple ranch and he owned an Indian restaurant and he needed somebody to run it. So at 20 years old, I was given the keys to the best Indian restaurant. Well, not the best looking, but the best tasting Indian restaurant I've ever experienced in my life. I'm still chasing it. Most curries I have these days, they're an 8 maximum. My uncle's place, and everybody, shout out to Nick Reeder, everybody that ate there will agree, Chairman's curries were 15 out of 10. They were just next level and spicy as hell. Unfortunately, that restaurant is now closed down. But during my time in America, we moved this little restaurant called La Tandoori into a bigger unit, and we turned the name into Chutneys. And what me and my uncle did was took the fruit from the apple ranch that my uncle owned, and we made little homemade chutneys, which were like a starter kit. So that was my first experience in restauranting, and I absolutely loved it. I was good at it, and I got that place packed jammed. Unfortunately, my time in America fell short because I didn't get my visa in time, and I also got put in jail for a drink driving offense. It's my only offense ever. And that's where my podcast, my SlamJam #1, it starts with me locked up in Folsom Jail. Go and check it out on Spotify, subscribe. All right, let's carry on. So next up, when I got back from America, me mate, Jamie Blundell, he was also my first guest on my Spotify. He was the guy that taught me how to DJ. And Jamie had been going to Calador, beautiful place in Spain, very family orientated. And he'd been out there DJing at this bar called Piccadilly's. So I got invited to go over there because the owner had changed Piccadilly's from an English restaurant into an Indian after just coming back from India. Hello, Jesus, my great boss. He was a tough little bastard, but I love him. Looks like Robert De Niro, real handsome bastard. And I know you're going to be listening, Jesus. I love you, man. Anyway, he broke my balls for 6 months. I was waiting tables. I was great at that. Behind the bar, I was absolutely terrible, throwing bottles everywhere. But, at night when it was not so busy, Jamie let me get on the decks. And that was my first taste of DJing. But the sad story about this is every time I go somewhere, it always ends very, very horrifically. My mum and dad came over, and I was going to tell my mum and dad on the first night that they don't have to worry about me anymore. I'm going to be traveling now. They can break up if they want, because they were living together just for me. And unfortunately, I never got a chance to tell them that. We were supposed to go for dinner on the second night down at the marina here, gorgeous place. And my dad got absolutely leathered that night because all my mates in Calador were giving him free drinks. And he passed out in Lineker's bar. Hello to Wayne Lineker, Gary Lineker's brother, old friend of mine. And my dad passed out. And by the time he got him to the hotel, he tried to be sick and swallowed the sick and drowned in his sleep in the hotel. So that was my first real experience with like an out-of-body experience, but it wasn't my own. It was my dad's. I was holding him in the hotel room, and I could feel his soul go into mine. And it was at that point where I said to myself, I need to do something big now in my life. I need to change. I need to mature. I need to grow up. So when I got back to England, my mum gave me some money, and I became a DJ around the age 21. And I, 22, and I got myself some decks. I had to wait 6 months on a waiting list. And then I started working for a record company. So my record collection was building up. I started networking with all these record shops, and I started getting gigs. But the main thing was my first ever audition was at a place in Bolton called Harvey's. And I did an audition on the Thursday, and the manager said, come back next Thursday and we'll book you every Thursday from then on. And I was playing like speed garage. I was playing a bit of like chill out music, soul music. It was good. So anyway, I'm buzzing, right? And on the Wednesday, I'd started university. It was the freshers' ball. So we all went out to meet our new classmates. I was studying creative writing, film writing, and philosophy of literature. So I was hanging out with all these people that were into film and photography and writing. And my best mate at the time, Nick Hardy. Hello, Nick. I love you, man. Congratulations on your wedding. Me and him just started messing around in a bar, and we started having arm wrestles. And I was a bit of a king at school of arm wrestles. I never got beat. So I had this student an arm wrestle, and I beat him. And I remember my arm feeling a bit painful. And then me and Nick had an arm wrestle, and I was there, I was chugging away, and boom, snapped my arm in half. And I'm talking a spiral fracture. You can see it on, this is the x-ray here. And if you look, you can see the size of my bicep then, because I was working out. The muscle mass compared to the bone density is an obvious problem. So my arm not only snapped, it's spiral fractured. So I had to go to university. My mum had to drive me for the first 6 weeks. I had a shitty little laptop that was really slow, and I had to type with my left hand. But not even that wasn't the biggest problem. I'm in hospital on the Wednesday night, and I've got my first ever audition to DJ. Sorry, my first ever real gig to DJ the following night. So I want to give a shout out to Tim Wadhams, wherever you are, Tim Bongo. He was the one who said, look, don't worry, I'll come and help you set up your turntables. You know, we're talking 20 kg each, plus a mixer, all in flight kits, plus 2 bags of records. You're talking 80 kg, 100 kg. He helped me set that stuff up every week, and I played my first gig with one arm in a cast. And I tell you something, all these students from uni started coming down, not because I was good at that time. They were just wanting to come and see this Muppet trying to fiddle knobs with one arm. And I tell you something, I made a legacy for myself. That place, Harvey's, I ended up doing these CDs called White Chocolate. They were like an R&B collection. You can find them on my Mixcloud. The link's on my Spotify. You can download them there for free. And yeah, I was banging out 500 CDs a month, sorry. I was printing them all myself. I'd take them all to the clothes shops. And the clothes shops would be playing them in the background, so people would be listening while they're trying on clothes. And I tell you what, I'm making loads of money. And that was the start of this DJ career. And then while I was at uni, I remember I had to do one module, 3-month study about Shakespeare. And at the time, I had no idea who Shakespeare was. And I remember walking in the classroom, and I said to the students, like, this is going to be fucking boring. And my professor, she was this little shaven Ewok, a little lesbian professor, and she punched me in the back. She said, listen, I will show you your ignorance and make you love Shakespeare. Within a week, I was going round to her house with a lesbian partner who was also a PhD in Shakespeare esoteric knowledge, and I'd sit there for hours listening to them talk to me about how every Shakespeare play could be looked at in 12 different ways, which is where I learned about ambiguity. So it was a great learning lesson. Anyway, then 2002, I booked myself a trip to Egypt to take my niece for her 14th birthday. So all the DJ money I'd saved up, about $5,000 it cost me, I paid for a 2-week all-inclusive trip to Egypt. And a year after, 2003, my mum got sick. She was diagnosed with cancer, sarcophagus cancer. And this is just a few years after my dad had died. So I was going to cancel the trip. My mum said, no, don't worry about it. So my mum was in and out of hospital. And then 2003, for all of those that remember, the war in Iraq kicks off. So I get a telephone call from Egypt, from Thomas Cook. We advise all tourists not to go to Egypt. I said, no, I'm going. It's my only chance to go. So as you can see in the picture there, it's only me there. I'm telling you, there was only me and my niece at the pyramids. It was a phenomenal experience. So I went to Egypt for 2 weeks, and I was worried. I wasn't sure whether my mum was going to be alive when I got back. I told my sister, just let me know. But my sister said, no, I'm going to let you enjoy your holiday, and, you know, hopefully she'll be right when you get back. Anyway, during my time in Egypt, I was very lucky to meet a man called Hakim, the man in the picture. This guy is a wisdom keeper, and basically his tribe have passed down an oral tradition for years. They never wrote it down. These people are the ancient Semitic people, or what you call the sons of Ammon, and they're like the wisdom keepers. Hakim used to do tours around Egypt before anybody was talking about the esoteric side and the other use of the pyramids not being tombs, and they're certainly not tombs, 100%. Anybody who still thinks that, you're a muppet. And I got to go to his house, and his house overlooked the Sphinx. You could see it. And I sat there smoking shisha for a few hours. And when I walked in, he said to me, your dad's right behind you. And I never ever mentioned my dad's death once. And I tell you what, I was sick. I puked up on the floor, and then he made me sit down in my own sick, which, funnily enough, when I left, I checked my pants. There was no sick. And then halfway through the conversation, he said to me, your mum's sick, right? She's in hospital. And I was like, how do you know that? Because he had his third eye switched on, and he's telling me all this stuff about chematology. Now, chematology is the ancient land of Egypt actually was called the land of Kemet. And this is where we get alchemy, right? And also chemistry. And I just want to give a shout out to Jeffrey Drum. He's a new guy that I found on YouTube. He's got a wonderful website. It's called Land of Chem. For anybody that's interested in the chemistry, the manufacturing of compounds in Egypt, and what the real function of Egyptian structures are, Jeffrey Drum is the man. Another guest I'm trying to get on my show in the future. So Hakeem's telling me all this stuff about ancient wisdom and chematology, but I couldn't digest it. I was too young. I was too naive. And I didn't have the listening skills. But he said to me, I'll send your mum some energy via the Sphinx, because he told me the Sphinx was a power device. And he said to me, she will know. All right. So we got the alchemy, and there's me and my niece again, nobody around. There's the famous Sphinx, which I believe did send me mum some energy, and I'll get to that later in the story. Now, while I was in Egypt, in Cairo, I stayed in the Mina house for 3 days. And that's where all the famous authors would stay. And you get the beautiful pyramid view from your balcony, which I did. And on my last day, just before I was about to fly to Luxor, I went to the pool for the first time, me and my niece, and I was splashing around, and I saw this guy on the other side of the pool. And I run over, and it's the one and only Robert Bauval, who wrote The Orion Mystery, which is the reason that I actually have this tattoo on my arm right here. I'm not going to go into that later. I'll talk about that in my next Esoteric Ego episode. But me and Robert stayed in touch. And I told Robert I'd been to Hakeem's house the night before. And he was like, who is this guy, Hakeem? I want to meet him. He's an absolute legend. So even that guy, having written several books, had still never met this guy, Hakeem. And I also want to give a shout out to U.S.A, who's the son of Hakeem, who's still doing the chematology tours in Egypt. And another guest I'm desperately trying to get on here so we can talk about Hakeem, because Hakeem has now passed away, or as they say, he's wested. And I want to say, Hakeem, thank you for changing my life. Unbelievable. Now, when I got back to England, I got back on the Friday. My sister immediately said, Mum's been in hospital. She's fine, on the final stages. So I dropped my niece off, shot to the hospital. The nurse greeted me and she said, oh, you must be Adam. Your mum's been talking about you the whole 2 weeks. So I got to sit with my mum. She was lucid. She was on a little bit of morphine. But I got to download all the experience I had in Egypt. She was smiling the whole time. I did it for my niece's 14th birthday. And it was just like, I gave my mum a lot of energy. And I could sense Hakeem had done something to her just to allow me to get there for the, that final stage. So I sat with my mum all night Friday. Saturday, I went home, got my bags, came back Saturday. I stayed Sunday, I stayed Monday, and I managed to get all the family, including my mum's mum and dad, who was still alive at the time, which was a very, very tough experience to watch her pass away. But I want to shout out to Nick Reader, Ken Reader, all the Reader family, everybody that came. I love you all. My aunties, my uncles, my sister Sharon, my niece Laura, Eddie, everybody. I just love you. And all my friends as well that were with me. Andy Wyatt, Jamie, everybody, Tony Paul. You were wonderful friends, and you were there for me when I needed you. And of course, my mum on the Monday, she was so heavily morphined, but something phenomenal happened. And my mum sat up in the bed like the Exorcist. It scared the shit out of me. And she looked me in the eyes and I was like, what the fuck? And then she just flopped back down again. And all I could think about, listeners, was Hakeem saying, I'm going to send your mum energy and she will know. And she passed away not long after that. And I'm telling you now, this is why I started this podcast. This is why I'm telling you this story, because there's real magic. And if you don't switch your third eye on, you'll never see it. And it's such a shame to live your life in that box. Now, what happened next? So my mum and dad passed away. I took some money from my parents' inheritance and I redid the whole house. I turned it into a really nice place, in honor of them. And I was enjoying myself. I was working full time. I was DJing. I was making a lot of money. Good group of friends. And one day, but I had this itch. I had an itch that as the more stuff that I put inside my house, I was becoming this fish trapped inside a ball. And I kept thinking about what would happen if I jumped out of the ball? Would the big cat get me? Would my boss, stop? Would he fire me and I'd never be able to get a job ever again? There was this itch, and once you get that itch, it's impossible to get rid of. So one day I'm just randomly watching cable TV and I stumble across Discovery Channel and I see my mate, Robert Baval. And I'm like, oh, Robert, so what's all this about? And I'd missed the first part. And it was actually a 5-part series. It's called The Pyramid Code. It's on YouTube and it's mind-blowing. So I started watching it. And then about 30 minutes later, guess who I see in the same series as Rob Baval? The one and only Hakeem, wearing his little hat. And I've actually been thinking for the last 2 years that it was all a dream, that he wasn't real. But there he is on TV. And I'm thinking, oh, they finally met after I'd met Robert Baval in Egypt. It turns out they never actually met physically, but they were in the same program because they both had a lot of input. And it was the first time the world really understood and listened to what Hakeem had to say. And it was phenomenal. Anyway, at that point then, I got this real serious itch. And one of my friends, big up to Martin Parry, Rob Lomax as well for doing all my artwork, everybody from Unique Records, John, James, Alan, everybody. I had a great time at Unique Records, phenomenal experience. But Martin Parry, he'd been around the world for a year. Everybody I knew had been around the world for a year except for me. And I'm the one reading about all this stuff in my bedroom, you know. So Martin says, oh, while I was traveling, I came across this website called Couchsurfing. He said, why don't you do it? Because I was living in a 3-bedroom house now, all alone. I had 2 free spare rooms. So I checked it out. And at the time, there was like 130,000 members. And I'm thinking, I'm from Bolton, which is about 7 kilometers away from Manchester. Everybody's going to want to go to Manchester. Nobody's going to want to go to Bolton. So anyway, I made a profile. And it took about a year, and then somebody popped up. It was some surfer guy. And I went and picked him up at the Bolton train station, and he had a surfboard wearing Bermuda shorts in Bolton. I'm like, nah, mate, you're not going to get any of that here. So anyway, I did about 3 hosts. And then suddenly, I had an epiphany. I was like, right, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to go all in. I'm going to sell my house. I'm going to go traveling around the world. I'm going to couch surf the world, strictly only couch surf. So what I did, I sent an email to Casey Fenton and Heather from Couchsurfing, who were the moderators and the owners. And I proposed an idea that I was going to couch surf. What I would like them to do was send an email to all the members. And in return, I would eventually write a book about my experience. And I would donate $1 for every book sold on the Couchsurfing network. So they agreed and they sent an email out. And suddenly my PC just crashed. I got thousands and thousands of emails, and I started planning out a map of where I was going to go. So then I was like, okay, I'll sell the house. Anyway, it took a year for me to sell the house. Not an easy thing. Even though I'd done it all up, I'd prepared. You know, I had a girlfriend, I had cats, I had family, I had friends, I had a car, I had everything. Fucking sold it all, and I never looked back. And then I got a logo made, and then, of course, the media started blowing up. I was in the Manchester Evening News. There was just tons of media getting involved. It's like a snowball effect. The Manchester Evening News says, we'll follow your story. We'll keep regular updates in the newspaper. And then the Bolton Evening News, the same thing. Oh, yeah, this is a great story. Can you make it for 5 years? That was the intention, right? And as you can see on that little map there, that was the plan. And then I was in the Metro. I was in every newspaper in England. But I'm digging deep for these things. It's really hard to find archives of photos from the past. So anyway, after that, I then went on Channel M TV with Andy Crane, who was a famous Charles presenter. And I'm going to show you a little video clip right now. Boom.
Now, meet Adam Schofield. Adam has quit his job and he's going to travel around the world. But what's unusual about Adam's trip is where he's going to be staying. So, Adam, where are you going to be staying?
Basically, I'm going to be couch surfing around the world.
Now, couch surfing. What's couch surfing?
People offer me a place to stay in their house, maybe a couch, maybe a bed. Basically, it's for free. I get to stay with them in their territory. They show me around. They are the perfect host. They
How do you find these people?
There's an internet site, www.couchsurfing.com. Basically, everybody goes on there with a profile. I email them and say, I wish to come to your country, may I stay with you? And in return, they stay with other people. And basically, people write references and you build up a trust.
So there's no money changes hands?
There's no money changes hands, that's the unique concept.
So do you have to offer somebody a couch or somewhere to keep in return? Is it like an exchange deal?
I've been couch surfing, hosting in Manchester for the last 6 months. Really? I've had people from all over the world and I've made lifelong friends, and this is what's inspired me to go travelling and find a unique connection throughout the world.
And you are planning to go all the way around the world? How many countries are you going to visit?
206 countries in 5 years.
206?
Yeah.
And you found somebody in all of these places through this website?
Pretty much, yeah. The idea is now that they're actually contacting me because I'm writing a book about the experience, so they're intrigued to be part of the book, and yeah, it's opening up a lot of different options. I'm not actually needing to do anything. I'm just sitting back and they're emailing me.
What about the safety issue, mate? Because people are watching going, all right, I'm going to travel around the world, meet somebody I met through an internet site, and they're going to put me in their house. I mean, you know, it could be a bit risky, couldn't it?
Well, it takes a certain kind of person to, you know, obviously do this kind of thing, but the unique thing about Couchsurfing is everybody has a profile and everybody gets a trust, like a level of trust that builds up based on the people's references that they leave you.
So did you put feedback?
Yeah, pretty much.
Like eBay?
Like pretty much,
so
yeah.
Say, this is really quite a comfy sofa. Come and stay at this guy's house because he makes a good brew.
They make good food, yeah, etc. It works very simple.
You said you're going to write a book.
That's correct.
What other things are you going to do to occupy your time on this epic journey?
I'm a DJ anyway now, so I've now volunteered to be the Couchsurfing international DJ. I'm going to try and organise parties in each country and get each people from the Couchsurfing project to come and start a unique thing. So.
And how long do you think you'll be journeying for? Is it a few months?
I've planned for 5 years. I've pretty much sold everything that I've got to do this. And hopefully, if my book's a success, I'll be able to double what I had here anyway.
Well, if you've sold everything, I jolly well hope financially for your sake that your book's a success, mate. Very nice of you to come in.
Thank you very much. It's an
Thank
honour.
you very much indeed for your time, and good luck with your trip.
Thank you.
Cheers, mate.
Boom. And next up, I was also on BBC Radio, and I'm going to play a little clip right now. Boom.
Lunchtimes belong to Bezic.
So what's all the fuss about this garmless prat of a postman who tells his customers, if you're filling a form, I'll stop bothering you? What's the sense in that? The trade unions should be driving him out of employment with a stick. Why? Because he's a garmless cretin. You do not tell your customers what to buy after.
Alan Bezic.
What is the answer to this problem? That's the answer to this problem. Wring its neck.
Alan Bezic. Talking sense every lunchtime.
That's worth celebrating, surely.
I'm with you now.
From noon to day. At BBC Radio Manchester. And you can listen again at bbc.co.uk/Manchester.
Now then, have you ever thought of travelling the world? We're talking about taking time out and going to see all of the places you've ever fancied seeing. I mean, that's the lottery dream, isn't it? It would just be fantastic.
Oh, you win $1 million, you get on a cruise, travel around the world, do it in style. Or don't win the lottery and, you know, slum it. Well, not slum it exactly, but there is a new way of doing things now, and we're joined by Adam Schofield. And just explain to us, in a nutshell, Adam, what you're doing.
Good morning. Well, basically, there is a unique concept on the website. It's been going about 2 or 3 years. It's just starting to get more and more commercial and mainstream now. People are finding out about it. What it is everybody around the world are members of the Couchsurfing network, and they each offer a place for a traveller to stay for free, in return for the opportunity to go to any other countries themselves.
Right, so it's called Couchsurfing.
It's like a timeshare, isn't it? You have a timeshare couch and you offer somebody your couch, and then you go to their couch.
Similar, yeah.
So you register.
It's all free.
It's all free.
Right.
And it's like just somebody opening their front door for a bit of hospitality for, what, one night?
Well, it depends. I mean, hopefully some people might want to host me for a week if it's somewhere tropical. If it's somewhere like Beirut, obviously a couple of days would suffice.
Right. Well, you're doing this, and we'll find out exactly why you're doing it in a moment, but you're not the only one doing it. There's 100,000 people in the States, is it, all around the world who are signed up to this concept?
Yeah, I mean, generally not everybody's doing it on the grand scale like me. Some people might just want to go for a holiday, and rather than book a hotel, they just simply contact somebody, say, may I stay at your house?
I suppose in a way, that's a good way to do it, because you are going to be living with the people who live in that country.
Exactly.
They'll be able to take you out to the right places to eat, the right places to, nice places to drink. I don't mean, glamorous locations. You'll be living as the locals live.
Exactly, yeah. And as soon as you land in that location, generally, most people will pick you up from the train station or the airport, so you've no fear of how to get a taxi, being screwed over taxi charges, etc.
Are you not accused of being a bit of a ligger?
No, not at all. More of an adventurer. Modern-day adventurer, I'd say.
Do you open your doors?
Exactly, yeah. I've had 6-7 people in the last 6 months
From
couchsurf. Australia, America, some from Germany, and they're lifelong friends. We stay in contact now on the Couchsurfing network.
But, you know, everyone who's going to be involved in this isn't going to be as good as gold. How can you be sure that the person that you invite into your home is a decent person?
Okay, generally when you stay with somebody, that person will then leave a reference on the website, and you also have what's called a verification process, where you can pay so much, it's only £20, and they will tag your name to your address, and it shows that you've put the effort in to be verified. So you are who you say you are.
Right.
So, and most people, when you do a search, say you want to come to Manchester, you can actually search for people who are only verified.
Right.
To show that they are more trustworthy.
Do you know what? I was surfing the web myself the other day looking for. I'm trying to learn Spanish.
Yeah, me too.
Are you?
Yeah.
And well, do you know,
¿Cómo está?
Yeah, muy bien.
Is this as good as it gets, boys?
No, I could say ¿Dónde está la baña? El baña. Where's the bathroom? I could say that as well.
That's
Critical.
useful.
But on the website, it's like I swap my English for your Spanish. There's kind of there's all sorts going on the web.
Yeah.
You know, so people want to learn Spanish. They offer someone who can speak Spanish their English. So money isn't changing hands, and it's a similar kind of theory, isn't it? With
Absolutely.
This?
When I'm going to go in South America, I refuse to leave until I can speak some fluent Spanish.
Yeah.
You know, that's
Do the authorities
idea.
know
because some people actually have language barriers, so maybe it's good for me to penetrate those houses to only speak Spanish. You know, this is the thing that
We've
people
established
can
the
give.
theory. What's special about you? Because there's one trip that no one else has done.
Well, I'm just inspired. Previously, I've recently lost both my parents. I've realised now time is precious, and I'm a very ambitious person. I go to work like everybody else every day, see the same faces. It's just a little bit too mundane for me, so I've decided now's the time to take the opportunity and do it. You know.
So what are you going to do?
I'm going to travel around the world. I'm going to write a book about my experiences. It could be about the person's life, the experience I share, the places that I visit. I'm also going to collect mother's recipes, as I call them, to obviously make the book slightly more wider to an audience. And the whole point of the book, I suppose, is to try and find a unique connection as to why somebody would allow a stranger to come into their house. In a day and age like now, where everybody's in fear of all kinds of things.
That's exactly the question that people will want to know the answer to.
Yeah, exactly.
Why do people let strangers into the house?
Yeah.
I can understand it with students. I can understand a big student community wanting to get involved with this.
Yeah.
But that's not exactly who it is it? I mean, you say there in the States there are some well-heeled families who are really keen to do this. They've set up a room in their own house.
Yeah, there's maybe hippies from, you know, the 60s, 70s who went travelling themselves, had a unique experience, now maybe settled down with a family, and they've dedicated a whole room in their house collecting memorabilia from all different kinds of couch surfers, and they just want to give back the same opportunity they had in a safer environment.
But there must be some security issues. You must have some concerns in the back of your mind.
I suppose it's just the same as walking out your door in the morning. There's always fear everywhere.
No, it's not. You're going to go to some South American countries
You're going to have to sleep
which
with one
are
eye
really
open.
quite
Well,
lawless.
I mean, the idea of couchsurfing, it allows you the opportunity to look at somebody's profile before you stay with them, and generally most people who've had 6 or 7 people stay with them, that's enough for me to say that they're a decent enough kind of person,
Yeah.
you know.
How stoic are you? Because some experiences are not going to be great, and you might go from a couple of houses where your experience is really grim. I mean, are you stoic, or will you get on a plane and come home?
No, not at all. I mean, from a writer's point of view, I want to get down to the grittiest, you know, untidiest house possible, and also the nice houses would be an exception. But this is all part of the experience. I've got to accept
A
it now.
dirty house is not going to be as bad as it's going to get.
No,
It's
more,
not.
I think it's more the food I want to be concerned about.
So you're taking a digital camera and doing a blog and all that, I suppose.
Well, yeah, I mean, lately I've had a few interests from people wanting to sort of latch onto the idea. Freelance photographers contacting me. I'm looking for somebody who can work an HD camera because, you know, it'd be nice for...
And then I set off on my journey. My first point of call was the wonderful San Francisco. And I immediately started getting interested in what we call old world architecture. And the world is full of it. If you don't look, you won't see it. But some people call this Tartaria, or an ancient world that's been wiped from history and the world's been reset. And I believe it because, you know, we get told that these buildings are built in 1 year. If you go on Wiki, there's the same story. They were built in 1 year with horses and carts, and there was a great fire that burnt them all down. Bullshit. All right. So then I went to San Diego. My host was this helicopter pilot in the Navy. I was allowed to go on the naval base, which is top secret. Sat inside a Seahawk, went on top of the aircraft carriers, inside the aircraft carriers. A wonderful experience. And then you see me here. I'm at the Grand Canyon. Just amazing. What I ended up doing was buying a seasonal pass for all the parks in America. It was really cheap and just amazing. And this is around November, so it's getting quite nippy. And then we've got the Arches, very famous sacred site. Over here, we got Dead Horse Point. The story of this place is that they used to take the horses up to there and they would sell them. And any horses that didn't get sold would just be left on top of this mountain. And they'd be looking down at the Colorado River, thirsty as hell and just rot. So they found loads of dinosaur bones. I think it was a sacrifice spot, to be honest. Another little shot of me, handsome bastard, when I was young. Bit of hair. Oh, look at that. Bryce Canyon. Absolutely sensational. The reason I'm using low resolution photos is because I'll get into this when I get to season 4, when I'm in South America. My laptop got stolen because I was drugged and robbed, and all my high-res photos got stolen. So most of these are taken off my old website. But that's one that I managed to salvage. Look at that. Beautiful. Here we go. Some more Colorado. We stopped off in Albuquerque and managed to blag our way onto a set. That there, right there, Steven Seagal. And then we went through Austin. That's that old famous tower that looks like an owl. Then San Antonio. As you see again, you've got this new world architecture. You know, our history is so flawed. When you get into the real history, you'll start making sense of all this. And then I went to the wonderful New Orleans, which was both amazing and very sad, because I arrived there just shortly after Katrina. Oh, it was still a mess. And you know, the sad thing was the military were going around in Hummers trying to kick people out. And they're doing the same in Hawaii. They're doing it all around the world. You know, these people are not there to help. They're there to make the new world, to get rid of the poor people and kick all them out and then flatten the place and start again. So this here, what we're looking at, is where the levee broke, the water came down, and it raced down and smashed everything along the road. We had a big walk down there. It was very sad. Whole houses had moved down the street. Phenomenal experience. Here I am in Memphis, and I went to Elvis's house. That's the grave in the back garden. Beautiful. And there's Elvis's house. Actually quite smaller than I expected. And they turned his old squash court into his record collection. And across the street, you can go on the airplane, his private jet. He's got a bed in there, as you do. You know what I mean, when you're Elvis. Memphis again, Beale Street. We've got, I had to go and get a bit of fix. Look at that for a little collection. Beautiful, man. Always loved me soul, jazz, blues. Here's the Petrified Forest. You know, I'll get a bit more into this later. These things look like brick or stone. So when you see these giant mounds, a lot of people, they say they're not like rocks. They're actually the root of old trees, petrified trees, the ancient trees, just like in Avatar. I'll talk about that again in Esoteric Ego Part 3. And here we've got the Painted Desert. Beautiful. Route 66. And then we went back to LA for Christmas, which was wonderful. So we did a little like loop back to LA. And then after Christmas, we went to Salt Lake City, where I stayed with some Freemasons, which was very interesting, in a gorgeous wooden house in the mountains. And one of the guys blagged me some free snowboarding gear. Never snowboarded ever, but within a whole day, I'd managed to get up to the top of the mountain. And if you listen to my SlamJam series, I accidentally went down the Black Diamond, which is the very difficult route. Took me hours to get down. It was terrible, terrifying, but I can laugh about it now. But what an experience. Look at all these experiences I'm having. This is what it was all about. This is why I sold my house. And then here I am, Washington. And I tell you what, I didn't feel good in that place. Another obelisk stolen from Egypt. And interestingly, the Freemasons built all of Paris and all of Washington in a very Masonic geometrical design. And apparently, when they brought the obelisks over and slotted them in, it made the whole city function, right? And I've just read this amazing book, Biogeometry, which explains that in detail. I'll get into that later. The museum in Washington, looking up at the big guy. I used to love dinosaurs. I'm not sure if I believe him anymore. I think I do, but I'm not sure. I'm on the edge. I'm on the edge. They used to actually, the real name of dinosaurs is actually Lizard Terrible, right? We're going to get into lizards a lot lately. Oh, aye. This is me running up the rocky steps. Now, be careful when you go to Philadelphia because if you ask the wrong person, they send you to the wrong place and everybody laughs at you running up the steps just across the road. I was thinking, there's only 4 steps. Then I went for a beautiful Philly cheesesteak sandwich at Gino's and Pat's. Went to New York just after the World Trade Center went down. There was still a big hole there. That was a very sad experience. And then, yeah, later people said, you didn't go that close, did you? There's loads of radiation. Nice one, Adam. There she is. Now, the Statue of Liberty, we'll get into this again in Esoteric Ego Part 3. Maybe not a woman, possibly a man, maybe a transgender. Oh, aye, fella. It's going to be awesome, that one. There he is. And then we got to go to Martha's Vineyard, which is excellent. This is where Jaws was filmed. It was the original Amityville. And amazing place. All the famous people go there in the summer. And this is the house that I stayed in. Absolutely amazing. Got to Boston, freezing cold. Didn't do too much of the Freedom Trail. It was absolutely freezing. But we went to the oldest restaurant in America, which is called the Ye Old Oyster House. First time I tried clam chowder, I nearly yacked, but I actually like it now. And this is a very rare picture of me, my first ever slam poetry session in Boston. And everybody threw vegetables at me because they said I was shit. Well, it was just because of the Boston Tea Party. I didn't know that story till later. So now when I do stand-up poetry in Vietnam, I always take a little basket. And I say to everybody, listen, if you're going to throw any vegetables or fruit at me, stick it in the basket and I'll give it to the poor people, you bastards. Here's Niagara Falls, absolutely gorgeous. I'll talk a little bit about that later with Tesla and the Westinghouse connection. The Bean, as you can see as well in Chicago. Chicago is an epicenter for old world architecture. It's all around, absolutely amazing. But that Bean's quite impressive. Flight of the Navigator. Then we went up the Hancock Tower and watched the city of Chicago turn into night. It was absolutely amazing, that. Here we are going through South Dakota. That's just proper cowboy land. And then we're in the Badlands. Beware the rattlesnakes. Beware the snakes everywhere. Went to Mount Rushmore. As you can see, I'm not that impressed. I wasn't willing to pay $25 to get in there. So I stood outside and took an illegal shot and got bollocked off the security guard. Anyway, bollocks. And then one of my favorite places in the whole wide world, Yellowstone National Park. And we did the snowmobiles. Phenomenal. If you ever get a chance to go there in the winter, I highly recommend it. Absolutely spellbinding. Look at this, bison everywhere. It's just gorgeous, man. All day, you know, and then you've got the Old Faithful, which blows its hole the same time every day. Then we got all the way up to Seattle, did some bald eagle spotting. That's a great shot I took through the camera there. Seeing some bald eagles in the wild. Over to Portland. And then here we're in Arquetta. You might recognize this from a famous movie. It's the town where they filmed The Goonies. And I was like, where's that beach scene? So obviously they CGI'd it a bit, but that's the original scene where the pirate ship came out. Took me a while to find that, I'll tell you that. And I tell you what, go down Pacific Coast. That's what it looks like. It's absolutely beautiful. So we're making our way back down now to LA. We've done pretty much like a whole loop in 3 months. This was in 2007. This is coming into Eugene. You've got Mount Hood. Apparently, that's some kind of secret military base. Loads of weird UFO shit goes on around here. On top of the mountain there. Beautiful. This is the Redwoods. Absolutely spectacular. This is where the Ewok village was filmed in Return of the Jedi. We didn't really go too far in, but you could just drive through it. It's gorgeous. And then we come down to, we went through Lake Tahoe, Bishop, into Death Valley, which was the lowest point in California. Beautiful. And that's the end of season 1. So if you want to listen to the whole story, please go back to Spotify, check out SlamJam episode 1. And the whole first season is my 3-month trip through America. All right. Now, on to season 2. Now I flew from LA to Monterey. I spent 3 months traveling the absolutely gorgeous Mexico. So my first host and guest was Adrian. Big shout out to Adrian Montfort. You and your family absolutely made me feel so at home. I was given a chef jacket, which I carried all the way around the world. We made a little Mexican flag. And what I always did with every guest was always make my famous spicy meatballs. I say a real spicy meatball. Really famous. And they got absolutely demolished. All right. And then made me way to a wonderful place called Zacatecas. And please listen to that episode. I think it's Esoteric Ego Part 2. I got shot away from Zacatecas and ended up staying with a shaman and did a lot of peyote and absolutely blew my mind. That's where I got into the Carlos Castaneda books as well. Phenomenal. Look at the old world architecture again. This is the famous Guadalajara. Beautiful city. Lots of ancient architecture. We went to Tequila. This is a funny story. I told it in the Spotify, but you have to drive back in a banged up car and try to make it home. Absolutely steamed. Everybody does it. The police don't give a shit. It's so funny. And then Sayulita, the beaches in Mexico, some of the best you'll ever see. Absolutely gorgeous. Querétaro, again, Esoteric Ego, I will go into why churches have 2 towers and they're always on sacred sites. All I'll give is a little clue. The Tesla 2 towers might give you a heads up. This is Bernal, and this is a famous rock where people do like a pilgrimage once a year. And we were there at the time. You can actually see, or maybe not, but there's a lot of white people, a lot of white coats going up the pathway. Anyway, I ended up climbing it. And just what I mentioned about the petrified forest, this could be an example of what used to be a giant tree trunk that was cut down because it's petrified. And they're all over the world. Again, watch Avatar. You sort of get an idea what I'm trying to talk about. It's pretty epic. Now we're in the gorgeous Guanajuato, beautiful, colorful city. Mexico City. Oh, hang on. Who's that handsome bastard? Jesus, where did he go? Into Mexico City, the most epic churches. And I have a great admiration for these giant organs. Now, these weren't made for music. They were made for healing. All right. There's loads of stuff on YouTube you can check out about that. Look at the old world architecture again. Absolutely gorgeous. I mean, these people had better skills than us now. Look how we make buildings these days. So boring. The old Indians in the center of Mexico. And that right here, we got Cholula. It's one of the biggest pyramids in the world, and it's all underground. And of course, the Spanish built a giant church on the top. And this is very well known throughout history, where even in Egypt, temples are erected on top of older temples underground. And you know this. Check out Jeffrey Drum, Land of Chem. He shows quite a lot of clips in his YouTube videos where you can see evidence of the top of pillars under stones in giant temples where they lift the surface stone up and you can see the top of a pillar under, which means that it must go down. God knows how far, you know. This kind of called the ziggurat, layers of layers and layers and layers of history. And all them layers have been reset and forgotten. But somebody knows. Now, this is the beautiful Oaxaca. I can't explain this place. It's mystical, magical. The Beatles went there. Jim Morrison went there. I think I saw Michael Jackson there as well, running around off his head. I'm pretty sure I kept seeing the same bloke look like Michael Jackson. But, of course, I absolutely lost my shit. We took some magic mushrooms in honey. I had a fucking mega out-of-body experience in one of these things called a Temazcal. So what you do, you get a guy like this to prepare you to go in a really hot sauna like that. They wrap the cover and fill it full of mud, and you sit in there for 2 hours on mushrooms. And when you come out, you're not the same person. And you'll know that because watch my pictures, watch the colors get better. My life changed. So yeah, this is when I really got into the Carlos Castaneda books while I was in Mexico. Highly recommended. Brilliant, brilliant collection. This is the beautiful Puerto Escondido. As you can see, after taking mushrooms, the colors change. We've got Zicatella, we've got Zapatalito, Chicagua. These beaches are phenomenal, especially when the sun's coming up or the sun's going down. And this is probably my most favorite beach, Mazunte. Oh, man, just walk around there. It's a nudist beach, and you can hear bongos in the distance. There's little hotels on the rocks. Absolutely gorgeous, man. I miss that place. Then here we've got Agua Azul, beautiful place. This is where they filmed The Predator, the end scene where he jumps off the waterfall. Just absolutely gorgeous. And then here we've got Palenque, absolutely amazing. Now, every time I went to these ancient sites, I could feel the same resonance that I felt when I was in Egypt. So, you know, I'd walk around and then I'd just sit there and meditate and think about my parents. And these were all gifts. I was wanting to show my parents the world through my eyes. That's why I went traveling. And this is what I was doing. They were with me the whole time. I've never regretted a single moment. Absolutely gorgeous. Look at these places, man. Palenque, Tabasco, Campeche. And then I went to I went to Cancun, and these are the cenotes outside of Cancun, where I actually did a scuba diving trip through the cenotes, which was wild. Really, really cool. You follow a little rope. It was awesome. And then the famous Chichen Itza, that place there, if you stand there and you clap, it'll actually echo. So if anybody was stood at the top shouting down to the people, they'd sound like a god, or they sound loud, you know. And here's the famous Cobar, ancient. I love ancient ruins, and of course I climbed all of these. And then we finished off Mexico with Tulum, which was right on the blue water, and of course full of lizards and reptiles. They always seem to hang around these sacred sites. Why? Because of the energy, right? And then that wraps up season 2. All right, let's go into season 3. And this part, I went from Mexico through Central America. And my first port of call was in Belize. Now, I don't really have that many pictures of the Belize, because the guy that I stayed with, he said to me, come on, we're going to go to Guatemala so that I could visit Tikal and Flores. Even before I'd planned to go to Guatemala, he paid for me to go to Guatemala. So he let me drive his car over the border. And we also did a surprise trip to San Pedro Island, which is the famous Madonna song Isla Bonita. And if you listen to my Spotify SlamJam, that's the one where I ended up taking some weird drug and nearly died. It was fucking mad. Typical Adam. And this is Tikal. Absolutely glorious. I'm so glad I went there. Tikal. This is the famous place from Star Wars, the Empire Strikes Back, you know, the rebel base where the ships come flying down. And this was Mother's Day, and I was at the top of a pyramid praying with my mum. Absolutely amazing. Sorry, not praying, I was meditating. Then I went to Flores and a beautiful Lake Petanitza, which is where I stayed with a Mayan family who eventually will they will give me a contact, and I will talk about more staying with the Mayans in the jungle. I stayed with a Mayan family for 10 days. Sorry, a Mayan tribe who spoke Quechuan. All this tick, 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 tock, tock, tock. I was probably one of the longest tourists to get to stay there for that long, for 10 days. All this is coming up in season 4 in South America. It's going to be absolutely epic. All right. Then I went over to Guatemala City and I climbed Pacaya, which is this huge volcano. I don't know why I did it. I got to the top. You can see all the lava coming down. It was hot as balls. My shoes were melting. But then, typical Adam style, it just erupted, didn't it? So we all started running back down, and there was fucking missiles of flaming hot rocks flying past us. One guy, I saw his camera got knocked out of his hand, and he scalded all his fingers. And that's not in the tour program. You know, oh yeah, you might get killed. Nice one. It was fucking brilliant. This is the beautiful Lake Atitlan. Aldous Huxley's favorite place in the world. It's just beautiful. There's 2 epic volcanoes there, and they're actually vents. And Lake Atitlan was actually the volcano that apparently erupted. And there's pieces of this that have been found in Nicaragua. That's how big the explosion was. And apparently this might have been what wiped the dinosaurs out. But what a place that is, just so tranquil. And then I went over to this is, where is this now? San Pedro, Panajachel, I think it is. I can't remember. Or El Sunzal, maybe. This is El Salvador, sorry. All right, so I shot through El Salvador. I shot through Honduras. I don't know what happened to my pictures, but I can't find any. And then I ended up in Costa Rica, which is a really good episode. The last episode I did on SlamJam before season 4. So here we've got San Jose Estrellas. A friend of mine actually let me borrow his camera because I was using a shitty Sony video camera at the time. It was pretty grainy. And I bought a little Canon camera, but the shutter broke. So my mate let me use his HD camera and never used one. And I was getting right up to these animals in Costa Rica. I took these shots. I'm super proud of these. Even my mate, he was a professional photographer, said he couldn't take shots as good as this. Look at this. Unbelievable. This is Costa Rica all the way. That shot there, I should be getting $1 million. Beautiful. This is it. Just went on little tours through mountains, wilderness, through jungles, smoking volcanoes everywhere. And then I got told that I should go on DJing there, Costa Rica. I was told I should go and check out the Pacara River, which is what the SlamJam last episode was all about. Really interesting story. It starts out really calm, and then it gets wild and wilder. And I think this is the last picture you'll see of me before I nearly died again. And then, yeah, here we are, little man himself. That guy we'll be getting into with Esoteric Ego again. And especially that guy. He's going to be of specific interest. And there I am in Costa Rica. The Tica Times, biggest newspaper in Costa Rica, came to my host house and did an interview. I was on TV. So now everything starts snowballing. I'm getting asked to go in every single newspaper in every country, even before I've arrived. And then my DJ career really took off. I became DJ producer and I got signed to interlabel bookings with my mate Jerry Rapero. If you look at that circle there, there's me on the roster with Ian Carey, Jesse Garcia, Tom Novi, Harry Choo Choo Romero. Not a bad lineup, that is it. So, if you work hard, if you have a goal, shit happens, man. I'll see you season 4. Thanks for listening, and I hope you like the new style. Yes, I'm in it large.
Children like to believe in something, whether it's the Tooth Fairy, Father Christmas, or even the Boogeyman. When I was young, I believed I could fly. It all started with my first pet, Jaws the goldfish, won by my dad at a traditional English Sunday fair. His home was made from the iconic round bowl of the 80s with the blue donut flip lid. He was fed a happy diet of fish flakes and occasionally changed his swim plan as I upgraded his bowl bed with whatever obscure fish ornaments my pocket money could buy. Round and round he would swim, never stopping for a break. I guess the fabled 2-second memory of a fish works wonders when you're in a confined space only able to swim in circles. I woke one morning needing a drink way before my usual time to get up for school. The kitchen was dark until I opened the fridge door. The illumination, to my surprise, revealed an image I will never forget as milk spilt down my pyjamas. On the kitchen floor was a fish silhouette in the moonlight. Jaws had somehow managed to leap over the blue lid, clear the kitchen worktop, and was now trying to figure out life without water on the floor. I placed him in my hand like you would a wish fish, the tiny pieces of plastic paper you once got from crackers that would fold and move with the heat of your palm. I immediately placed him back in his bowl and returned to bed, a little dazed and confused. 2 days later, Jaws was dead. A couple of decades later, so were my parents. Throughout my life, this incident never left my mind. I grew to realise the significance of that whole experience was actually a metaphor of me. After losing my loved ones, I'd become that fish, swimming round and round, lining my bowl bed with a plasma screen and IKEA furniture, altering my swim plan just long enough to feel that change we think brings happiness. When all along, all that was happening was the items were taking control of me and began to clog up my space until there was no longer any room to breathe. And that's when it happened. I decided I wanted out of this bowl. I was fed up of going round and round in circles, watching the same routine take control of my life. I didn't want to see the world through a window. I'm not scared of that big cat watching and anticipating my every move. To hell with it. I looked towards the blue donut flip lid. I gathered some momentum and I leaped out of the bowl. However, I didn't land on the kitchen floor. I was lucky. This time there was nobody about to pick me up and plop me back in again. I landed in the kitchen sink. I got washed down the plug into the sewers, managed to swim through the excrement of life before taking that final water slide ride, just like in the Goonies, to be met with the ocean and the freedom to roam. I am the fish that can fly. I wandered the world searching for excitement. A rush of adrenaline rekindled my passion for the great outdoors, and a newfound free spirit was guided by a natural current instead of a forced society. Through couchsurfing, I met my makers, Yodas, fairies, devils, opponents and fears, stared death in the face and smiled at newborns in a much-missed family environment. I guess I was searching for something to believe in again. I'd somehow forgotten the magic of childhood, lost my imagination in a black and white future painted in a blood-stained red. I'm not religious. I hate war, government and money. I love sour sweets, my family, everyone that shared a smile with me, and my new son, Luca, who I found at the end of that long road to somewhere. You stop believing when it comes, then you begin to understand, until your only fear is to lose it all someday. If you have a dream, wake up. If you love the world, tell the person next to you.